What's up YouTube? A lot of people have been asking me about destroy decks recently, so I'll try a bit of a different concept for this video. I'll showcase a bunch of different destroy videos from pool 1, pool 2 as well as pool 3, so you can find a playable deck regardless of where you currently are in your collection level, and you'll know what to look forward to at higher collection levels. So let's start off with some pool 1 decks, and I'll say right away that I think the destroy archetype is still pretty weak in pool 1 because a lot of key cards are missing. Nonetheless, I'll build two decks that are somewhat playable if you're already keen on trying a destroy build early on. So for this version I combined the destroy package with a swarm / zoo type of package. The idea here is that we use Nova as the core card to build around. When this is destroyed, give your cards +1 power. It buffs all 3 locations, so we want a lot of recipients for those buffs. To double down on that gameplay philosophy, we also play Blue Marvel. Has pretty much the same effect as Nova except for as an ongoing card. And some other nicely synergistic cards for swarm strategies are Squirrel Girl, of course, Mr. Sinister, as well as Sentinel. Besides that, we play the whole destroy package. I already highlighted Nova. Carnage is a great activator to trigger that death on Nova, and Deathlock does pretty much exactly the same thing. If at that point in time Angel is still on our deck, he's also a great swarm synergy card, just getting another free body on the board. And besides that, we play Electra as a bit of a control and disruption tool, destroying one of our opponent's cards and not ours for a change. We have Ironheart, which is of course nicely synergistic with cards like Mr. Sinister and Angel to have a lot of bodies early on that do receive the buffs. Ironheart is also great as sacrificial fodder for Carnage to turn this 0 power body into 2 power on Carnage. And the last card I haven't mentioned yet, Wolverine, same idea here. Is a free +2 power for Carnage. And we often don't care where Wolverine goes anyway because we're trying to flood all 3 locations with units anyway. Last card not mentioned yet, America Chavez is both a very consistent finisher as well as thins our deck. That means until turn 6 we basically only play with an 11 card deck, which results in us drawing all of these combo pieces a bit more often. Chavez is just a solid power card and you'll see her a lot in these pool 1 and pool 2 builds. And I will showcase a gameplay highlight with this deck in a second, but before that I want to hop over to another alternative version of a pool 1 destroy deck that I saw quite a lot of on the internet. It seems kind of popular. I don't think this is super strong neither, but there are some neat synergies here, so if you want to try to combine destroy and discard, this is probably about the best build you could go for. So we again play the whole destroy package that I mentioned earlier on. Cool upside here is that Wolverine also synergizes with the discard package, of course, just more ways of getting him for free. Apart from that, we play the whole discard package, Blade, as well as Lady Scythe, Sword Master, and Apocalypse. I won't go into detail on those. The key idea here is that we play a lot of cheap cards. We can empty our hand quite effectively, and that means it's more likely for Apocalypse to get hit by discards. Last card not mentioned yet is Angela. She of course also benefits from all of these small and cheap cards. And now it's time for a little gameplay showcase before we move on to the stronger pool 2 and pool 3 destroy decks. Okay. Usually not too happy to see Angel in our opening hand, but it happens. Okay, this is a nice showcase of why Mr. Sinister is really nice in this deck. We already have 3 units on the board by turn 3 to receive Ironheart buffs. Okay. Okay, it's on. Wait, this is perfect. Sick card art as well. Got his Nova. My opponent can still get mine as well, though. Ooh, let's go. That's a fun plot twist. I still need my opponent's armor, though, till I can play the Destroyer. For now, it's this. Do I just YOLO Professor X middle? Wait, there's no shot my opponent's coming back from this. Professor X middle, Destroyer right side. This is some suspicious behavior by our opponent. Oh, this is so perfect. We even get rid of the Hobgoblin. No. Why didn't you let me have this one? GG though. So as we progress throughout Pool 2, there are a lot more synergistic cards that we unlock, and this is the best build that I could come up with, adding some crucial Pool 2 cards. Now, I will still say I don't think it's a top tier deck. I think this archetype really starts to shine in Pool 3 once we unlock some further cards, but this is already somewhat decent for people that are hellbent on playing the Destroy archetype before then. So let's look at the big upgrades here. First of all, the Destroy synergies. Bucky Barnes is a very straightforward one. He is sacrificial fodder that turns into a very well-statted card. We have Killmonger, which is basically Electro on steroids. Not only does that give us some control and disruption against our opponent, but that also allows us to snipe our Nova regardless of their position and makes it a bit easier for us to apply that buff. Another cool addition here is Warpath. This is a very strong card if we go for a playstyle where we commit to 2 locations and leave the third one empty, obviously. The third one, we could leave a Nova there and then snipe it out with Killmonger at some later point. We just gotta keep in mind that we usually want one of our locations to be empty when the game ends. Another card that's pretty synergistic here and a cool disruptive effect as well is Hobgoblin. This can allow us to compete for that empty location nonetheless by giving our opponent a -8. This can also be used to clog one of the contested locations where our opponent is trying to play 3 or 4 cards. Just beware that if our opponent's location is already full when you play Hobgoblin, it's gonna stay on our side, so there's definitely some high risk here. Nonetheless, a super fun and effective card. Another addition here is Armor. This one can come in quite handy in some situations. For example, if we want to play our Deathlock on a location that is already somewhat filled. That of course prevents Deathlock's ability and just turns him into a 3-mana 5-power unit, which is pretty solid all around. And of course, Armor can also protect a card like Angel from being sniped from our own Killmonger right here. Last card not mentioned yet, definitely a flex spot, Scorpion. I like this as disruption. It is a very strong card that is even used in some top tier competitive decks. And you also don't mind this being used as some sacrificial fodder for Carnage. And here's another gameplay showcase of how this deck can be played before we move on to those super strong Pool 3 decks. Are some locations not available for Pool 1 or will change the season? Locations are not pool dependent or collection level dependent, but I think every week they design some new locations. They might also rotate some old ones out. If this is against a movement deck, I think this is going to be a quick retreat. I don't think we contest left location, just middle and right side. Ay, 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 what a start this. Lul. Woo! Okay, we're completely in this game all of a sudden. I keep Killmonger until very late. I want my opponent to play Hulkbuster and so on first. It's working out nicely. Now I want my opponent to waste a card like Doctor Strange on Human Torch. My Angela is trolling me though. Do I just play Deathlock on top of Angela? Nah. I guess I just go Nova Hobgoblin last turn, right? Instead of Chavez. I mean Nova Killmonger. Okay, this is getting sniped by Killmonger.
Opponent snapped.
Middle just for the free extra Angela buff. They're still at 6 power left side though. I think we win this. Not sure, but I think we win this. Because left side is going to be a tie, but we win middle very hard. Oh, gorgeous, the timed Killmonger. GG's. And to showcase these highly competitive pool 3 decks, I unfortunately don't have all of the cards yet myself, so I'll have to go to an external website, marvelsnapzone.com, to show and explain these decks to you. So the first one is a Deadpool deck, a Deadpool combo deck. So this deck is trying to make sure that Deadpool gets killed over and over and over again, doubling his power every time, making him grow exponentially. To make sure he gets destroyed a lot, we play Carnage, as well as Deathlock, as well as Killmonger. We remember all those from the previous decks, but we also play Venom as an additional destroy enabler. And for buffs to make Deadpool grow even quicker, we still play Nova, but we also have Hulkbuster in here to just add an extra 4 power early on. And this counts towards Deadpool's double ups as well. As some additional combo pieces, we have Taskmaster, a very important card of this deck. Set this card's power equal to the power of the last card you played. We usually want to play this to copy Deadpool's power once he's super buff in the late game. But another great target in this deck is Death. Death will usually be quite cheap towards the late game and can be copied quite easily with Taskmaster, especially if we combo her with Wave. So what we can do is play Wave on turn 3 to discount Death to 4 mana, but Death's passive discount still applies. So if we did a lot of destroying in the early game, we can often cheat out Death for anything between 0 and 4 mana. We do that on turn 4 and we make sure that Death or some other high power card is the last card we play, and then on turn 5 we can already play a ridiculously swole Taskmaster. To round out this deck and to give us a bit more of a consistent early game, we play the Hood as well as Bucky Barnes. Both basically sacrificial fodder to give us the Demon and the Winter Soldier as nice payoffs. So overall a very fun and creative deck to play with a lot of crazy combos and a lot of power spikes. Unfortunately, like I said, I cannot showcase gameplay here because I'm missing about half of the cards. But if you already have all of these unlocked, I definitely recommend to try it out. And the last deck that I want to show that is arguably the strongest and most consistent of them all is this one. A deck based around the Destroyer. And I do almost have all the cards for this, so I can give gameplay examples in a second. I'll just explain the deck first. The Destroyer, one of the strongest finishers in the game. In most decks, it would be a very bad effect to have him destroy all of your other cards. That counts for all locations as well on reveal. However, keep in mind that in this deck we have quite a few cards that we want to get destroyed, and we have a couple of cards that can also prevent the location from having cards destroyed. So this is fairly close to the Pool 2 deck that I highlighted earlier on, just with a bit more power spikes and a bit more refined. We have the same idea here of trying to only play for 2 locations. So one location we want to fill up completely with Warpath and a bunch of other complementary cards. And on the second location we just want to have the Destroyer, maybe also with a Colossus or Bucky Barnes by his side. And we can use Hobgoblin as well as Green Goblin to double down on these 2 locations or to disrupt the third location and maybe even win on that one without having a single card there on our side. Another honorable mention here as attack choice is Professor X. Basically the same idea as playing Armor, making one of our locations invulnerable to Destroyers on reveal effect, also disrupting our opponent sometimes, but of course rather pricey for the low power that he provides. And as I said, I have most of the cards needed for this deck, so I will show you some gameplay. The only tech choices that I did, Professor X instead of Green Goblin, just because I don't have him yet, and also a Cosmo instead of the Hood. Cosmo also allows us to play the Destroyer onto the same location as him without activating the on reveal effect, but can also disrupt our opponent very nicely, for example, if we do run into a lot of Odin decks. Okay, what are we, like 1 or 2 games away from infinite, right? Go get this bread. Okay, that's usually pretty good for a deck. Am I gonna stop once I hit infinite? No, no, no. Don't worry, I just changed to movement decks pretty soon instead of just highlighting destroy decks. I save this for later, when I can better predict my opponent's location. Punisher. Okay. Oh, so we know our opponent plays a card here. So one thing we could do is Cosmo right. We could go Hobgoblin left to screw their mana curve. We could Professor X middle to guaranteed win the location. I think I like Hobgoblin left most right now. Because even if we go Cosmo right, we don't know if we actually beat, like, if we do hit an on-reveal effect with that. Dino. So I guess we just contest left side, actually. I could lock down left side right now. Lockdown middle would be very, very strong if we already had the dude in hand, right? It's like lockdown middle is better. Oh, snap. Okay, that's not good. They flip over first. So this is the most we can do. 6, 10, 13, 19. 19 is pretty good.
Snap.
Okay, I think we won this. My math didn't fail me, we should go up to 19 here. The G to the G.
Victory.
Give me that sweet card back. Oh no, 1 cube off. The torture.